readers. My name is Monique Snyman, and I'm an editor for Booktrib.com. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with author John Kenney, who will give us some insight into his book, I See You've Called In Dead. John's book is one of the selections available in the Booktrib's Book Club program for January, and I'm very excited that he could find a few minutes out of his busy schedule to talk to us today. Welcome, John.
Hi, Monique. Thank you for having me.
Let's get into it. No spoilers. But what can you share about your book that we wouldn't find on the jacket cover?
Wow, that's interesting. I think the shootout at the bank, that scene where all of the characters die. I'm kidding. The characters do not die in a bank shootout scene. Well, there are some awkward moments. I'm a fan of awkwardness. There is a scene where our hero is at a wake where mostly Polish is spoken, and he's trying to say through Google Translate, I offer you my condolences. He mispronounces one of the words, and he says to the grieving family, I offer you my horse. That does not go over well. And there is also early on in the book our hero who seems to find awkward situations everywhere he goes. He goes on a blind date. The woman shows up, but she shows up with her ex-boyfriend. That is also very awkward for the three of them. So um, those are some of the things you might find.
I offer you my horse. That's a new one.
Yes. Yeah. My
Oh,
Polish is not great, unfortunately.
but it's very funny. I love it.
I'll tell a sort of uh, a quick story about the genesis of the book. I've been working on it for maybe 4 years, but the book came about. I was working on a separate idea, and I was about 100 pages into it, and it felt thin to me. It didn't feel substantial because I do want to give people something that I think is meaningful to read. And I'm from a big family. I'm one of six boys. And one of my brothers a few years ago was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And his death was quick and painless, thank God. But the last time I saw him, um, I drove up from New York, and my other four brothers drove down from Boston, sort of in the middle. And he was a remarkable guy, big, strong, handsome Irishman. He was a firefighter, and he was sitting on a lounge chair and had a blanket over him. It was early spring and very cold still. And I arrived before my other brothers. And my brother Tom and I chatted for a bit. And I heard a car pull into the driveway. And I looked out the window and I saw my other four brothers. And I turned to Tom and said, the others are here. And with this Buster Keaton-like stone face and quickness, he dropped an arm, had a little grin on his face, and he put his head to the side and he said, tell them they're too late. And I just thought, that's so gorgeous to be able to laugh in the face of death. It broke my heart and filled my heart at the same time. And I thought, I want that. I want to write a funny book about death, this universal thing that we all experience that I think many of us keep at arm's length. Um, and maybe we don't understand. I certainly don't understand it. I don't claim to. It is the great mystery. But can we flip it? Can it inform life? Can it make our days richer? So that was the inspiration for it. In fact, the book is dedicated to my brother Tom.
Why would I See You've Called In Dead make a great book club selection?
Well, there's so many wonderful books out there that if a book club chose this, I would be very flattered. I guess I would say um, that uh, the subject of death is really interesting to me, um, but not for how we normally view it. I think what the book tries to do is flip this idea of certainly the Western view of death as this very negative, deeply sad thing. Of course, it is that, but it also is instructive in how to live a life. I mean, I don't really. I grew up in the United States, in Boston, an Irish Catholic, and I don't really have a vocabulary for talking about death. My knee-jerk reaction is to sort of wince and flee and become very uncomfortable. I don't think it's that way in many other cultures. Um, in Bhutan, the tiny nation of Bhutan, a largely Buddhist country, they say that to think on death 5 times a day is to live a happy life. And I think the reason is because it is a reminder of the fleeting nature of the gift that is life. Um, I think it was the Buddha, might be an Indian myth, but I think it's the Buddha who said that he was asked, "What's the greatest mystery?" And he said the greatest mystery is that every day people die, and yet we walk around like we think we have nothing but time. And so I think to that extent that we can, I think the best book clubs generate tremendous discussion and thought and surprise. And so, can we talk about death in a new way? This idea that maybe it's a gift, and that uh, you know the character in the book is an obituary writer, and his best friend, but he's an obituary writer who doesn't know how to live. But his best friend is this very wise soul who says to him, we're all obituary writers. We write our life every day. The question is, what story are you going to write?
That's profound, really. So, what's the best book, fiction or non-fiction, you've read in the last year, and why?
That is a really hard question. I'm a huge reader, but I must say I've been reading fewer books and more magazine articles, long magazine articles in the New Yorker or the Atlantic. I still read books. It's tricky when you're finishing a book and I've got, these are the last galley proofs and you're going through. And so I've read a little less this last year, but I think the novel that really stands out for me is it's called Who is Rich by Matthew Clam. He's an American writer, and I just love his work. He might be better known for short stories. He writes a lot of short stories for the New Yorker magazine, and his debut collection, Sam the Cat, was extraordinary. But I came across this novel and read it late last year, Who is Rich? And it is so nuanced and so laugh out loud funny, but also sort of heartbreaking. And I just think he's one of those writers who sees really deeply. And it blew me away. And so that's what comes to mind.
I'd love to talk to you more about your book, but I promised readers 5 minutes, so we'll have to wrap this up so they can go read your book. I know I want to. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Readers, for more information about John's book, please check out the book club page on the booktrib.com website. Until next time, bye.